Money FM 89.3, the best of the afternoon update. The afternoon update with Lynlee Foo.
Money FM 89.3. The Silk Road is being rediscovered, not by merchants this time, but by modern travelers. And Uzbekistan is quickly emerging as one of Central Asia's most compelling destinations. According to the World Tourism Forum Institute, the country welcomed 3.1 million foreign visitors between January and April this year, a significant jump from the same period in 2024. It reflects growing global interest in Uzbekistan's UNESCO-listed heritage sites and Silk Road cities like Samarkand, Bukhara and Khiva. For travelers from Singapore, access is gradually improving. New flight connections are making it easier to reach Tashkent. And in recent days, there was also news about Changi Airport Group looking at developing direct flights to the growing region. But the bigger challenge and opportunity lies in extending that journey further, getting visitors beyond the capital and into the deeper cultural heartlands. So, what does it take to build a tourism corridor that goes beyond airports and into underdeveloped heritage cities? Joining me today is someone with first-hand experience of that question, someone many of you are familiar with. Timothy Goh is the founder of Hotel Bangkir Khiva, a boutique hotel in one of Uzbekistan's most historically significant and remote cities. He is also a former Money FM 89.3 presenter, now based in Khiva. Tim, welcome to Industry Insight.
Thank you very much, Lynlee. Hashtag Wanderlust. That's how I started there on Money FM. And yes, that Wanderlust has taken me here all the way to Khiva.
Really lovely to hear your voice again on Money FM 89.3. Now, let's start with where you are in Khiva. Now, Khiva isn't a name that comes up often in mainstream travel guides, even though it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. For those who haven't been there, like myself, can you describe it? Why did you choose to base your hospitality business there?
Well, you know what? When I the first time I came to Khiva was in 2018. The first time I traveled to Uzbekistan, it was totally remote. Nobody knew about it. People thought I was crazy for coming here. And then it's one of those cities that, everyone will have that deja vu moment, as cliche as it sounds. You step into a city you haven't seen or heard of before, and all of a sudden you feel like you're at home. So that was my experience here in Khiva, and it grew on me. I came back 3 months after that, and then started realizing there's a lot of tourism opportunities in an unknown city because, as you mentioned earlier, Samarkand is very popular. Bukhara is very popular. It's been written for centuries and centuries, but not a lot has been talked about in terms of Khiva as a destination. And it's really the most beautiful city in Uzbekistan.
I heard it's like a living museum, right?
It is a living museum. That is the tagline that the tourism industry uses because the old part of Khiva, which is called Ichankala, the inner wall, and then there's the Shankala, the outer wall, is still pretty much intact the way it used to be centuries ago. And not just that, you go to Europe and you see all these old ancient medieval cities. But in Khiva, it's still a real living city. People are still living inside of it. It's all the monuments and all the historic places. So it is quite a living museum. 2,000 people still live inside the old city. So it has a different dynamic to it. It's real. It's people. It's children playing football, kicking balls around ancient monuments, which sometimes worries me because, you might break a brick or something like that. But hey, if something stood the test of time for 2,500 years, I think it should be fine.
I know, right? It's all incredibly well preserved, and I've seen some pictures on your Instagram. It's beautiful, but let's face it, it's also remote. Most international travelers, they arrive in Tashkent. So what does the journey from Tashkent to Khiva actually look like today?
Okay, so as you know, or maybe not, I also operate a tour agency or a destination management
I didn't know
company.
that, no.
Yeah, you see? Yeah, a lot of people know about the hotel business, but the DMC, the destination management company, is a less sexier aspect of the business that we are operating. But so that's where we come in as a local tour organizer. So we organize tours for travel agencies, for example, in Singapore, who needs a local partner. So that's what we do. As your question, Tashkent is the gateway pretty much into Uzbekistan. It's the biggest city. Nothing really much to see, as I would like to tell people about Tashkent. It's just like any other Asian city. Mm-hmm. It's growing, it's getting bigger and bigger, and it's getting crowded and expensive. But from Tashkent, there are now 3 to 4 flights a day to Urgench, which is the nearest big city to Khiva, which is about 30 to 40 minutes away from here. Mm-hmm. So there's a flight early in the morning. There are 2 flights in the midday, in the afternoon, and another flight at night. So it's becoming a lot more convenient, and it's just an hour flight from Tashkent to Khiva. So in that sense, it's a lot easier. When I first came, even before COVID, there was 1 flight a day. On a lucky day, we might get 2, but now it's 4 flights a day from the capital. Mm-hmm. And to add to that, during the peak season, which starts in March to May, and then from mid-August to about mid-November, mm-hmm. there are direct flights from the major European cities like Milan, Rome, Madrid, Barcelona, Frankfurt, and it's growing.
And I hear AirAsia X is doing that as well. Come October, there'll be flights from Singapore. Well, it's a flight through Singapore from KL to Tashkent.
And that got me so excited when I first saw that news. I think it was announced when Malaysia was having a business conference here in Uzbekistan with the Uzbek government. And then they made that announcement, which was a long time coming. So it's great because now people can book one single ticket from anywhere in Southeast Asia or anywhere where AirAsia serves. Transits in Kuala Lumpur and then over here to Tashkent. And the good thing about it is the timing. I think the flight departs at about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, which means you can easily transit or leave wherever city you're from Singapore in the morning and still have enough time to transit. Previously, my clients from Singapore would fly in very early in the morning at 7 or 8 in the morning into Tashkent and then take an Uzbekistan Airlines flight or take a red-eye flight from Singapore to Seoul and then take a midday flight from Seoul to Tashkent. So now it's easier. You don't have to take your luggage out. It's just, going to be checked through.
Wow, exciting stuff indeed, Tim. Now, Samarkand, it's also a heritage city. I think it recently launched Art Station, which is a contemporary culture space that's drawing international attention. We're also seeing momentum in Bukhara and even this place, I'm not sure whether I can pronounce it correctly, Shahrisabz?
Shahrisabz.
Okay.
Shahrisabz. Yes, right. It is. Shahrisabz is located about an hour away from Samarkand. It's a heritage city. Yeah. Samarkand, of course, has always been the grand dam, I would like to say, of Uzbekistan tourism. It is very historic. It was the former capital, so you can imagine everything there. Every ancient monument in Samarkand, the Registan, for example, one of the most beautiful public squares in the world. It's just big and grand, and it gains a lot of international attention. A lot of international conferences have been held in Samarkand. Right after COVID, they hosted the first big international conference among world leaders, the Shanghai Cooperation Summit with President Xi Jinping and his allies. And it was held in this place called Eternal City. It is the new Samarkand, like a very modern city, just 15 minutes outside the city center with 5-star hotels and conference facilities and all that. So Samarkand is the place to be if you're coming to Uzbekistan, and if you only have one day, that is where you go.
So my question is, how do you see Khiva fitting into this network of rising cultural destinations?
Khiva is a great place to start your tour from. Or to end with, because it is a very laid-back, smaller counterpart of Samarkand, but it is the most charming and the most beautiful. And that's what I hear from most of my guests. They come here, it's like, oh, it's so beautiful here. It's so relaxing. It's like a fairy tale. And that's what I said during my presentation to a London tourism conference, and I called Khiva Uzbekistan's fairy tale come true, and it's exactly that sort of feeling that you get when you come to the small city.
And what about traveler behavior, particularly from this region? Are Southeast Asian travelers looking for something different compared to Europeans or Americans? At least those who come to Khiva, whom you've met.
Most of our travelers, the bulk of our travelers are European, Spanish, Italian, Germans, and Austrians. And then this year, we're starting to see more Americans and more Australians coming with direct flights from, I believe, Sydney and Melbourne to Istanbul. It becomes a lot easier for them to fly over here as well. One of the missing parts are Southeast Asians. We're not seeing a lot of Southeast Asians yet. We're seeing intrepid ones, smaller groups, a few people from Singapore, from Malaysia, from Indonesia, which is great to see. But I think there's so much potential because Southeast Asia alone, if you think about it, we have about 250 million Muslim population, and this is the perfect place for Muslims to come to. It's everything's halal, for example. It's a Muslim majority country, and it's the heritage and the history is something that they would like to see and be proud of.
Yeah.
And it's something that I would like to grow as well. Singaporeans love to go to Korea and Japan and Taiwan and Thailand and all these places. But hey, guys, it's time to see something new. It's very different over here.
Okay, speaking of which, who do you work with to shape that guest experience? Are there local guides, artisans, or cultural organizations involved?
So we try to be more, I guess, different from what the others are doing. Instead of just showing you sites and all these places, we also like to incorporate some cultural activities for our guests. So we have cultural performances, musical performances in our rooftop terrace here in the hotel at Hotel Bangkir Khiva, and it's great to see our guests dancing, playing with musical instruments, cooking. Demonstrations and things like that we do as well. We also take our guests to a small pottery village near our hotel, about 20 minutes away, where they can try their hands at doing pottery, ceramic pottery, as an experience. And then there's another place that we also like to take our guests is the bazaar. So if you think about Tashkent has Chorsu Bazaar, which is a very big bazaar that everything and anything you need is there. It's both for locals and for tourists. Samarkand has something similar called the Sia Bazaar, also big for tourists and for locals. In Khiva, it's just for locals. It's really where people go to buy their daily needs. It's a wet market. It's a bazaar. It's everything. And a lot of our hotel guests would request to join one of my staff who go there to buy our daily requirements. And that is something very unique, very local, very on the ground.
Okay, comparing all these cities, what makes Khiva stand out?
I'm biased. It's because we're in the desert, everything's flat, so all the monuments just appear with the blue sky or the dark sky at night in the background, and it just stands out that way. It's very striking, and everything in one place. For example, again, I'm biased about this one. On my rooftop terrace, you can see all the 6 minarets in Khiva, and it is one of the most unique cities because it has 6 minarets all in one place, including Central Asia's tallest minaret, the Islam Khoja minaret. And to see this kind of skyscraper instead of tall buildings that you would see in Tashkent, you see minarets and mosques and mausoleums and domes, and it's something unique. I mean, it's really like you can imagine how it would have been thousands of years ago.
Wow, I can really imagine what you mentioned earlier, like a fairy tale, scene.
Fairy tale scene. And a lot of people don't know this. The first time I came to Khiva, I thought, hey, it looks like a movie set. And it really does feel like a movie set. And there was, in fact, a 1990s British film called Orlando that was filmed and set here in Khiva. So that's something a lot of people don't know about.
Okay. And what about on the infrastructure side? What's holding Khiva back from scaling as a destination?
I think it's both ways. We want to grow as a tourism destination and yet maintain the authenticity of the place and maintain the laid back atmosphere, the old fashioned way of life, which is very quickly disappearing in other cities as well. So that's something as a tourist I struggle with, because as much as I want to bring more people here and giving them a more comfortable experience, I also want them to have a unique and authentic experience of what makes Khiva charming. And that's something we continually work with. So until we opened 2023, there were no new modern hotels in Khiva. Most of the hotels has been around for about 20 to 10 to 20 years and, worn out, different sort of comfort level. And we came into the scene with more modern facilities, better bathrooms, way better beds than anywhere else in Uzbekistan, and things like that kind of leveling up the experience. And we continue to do that. But at the same time, there are still tourists who want to experience the old way of life, the more intrepid tourists. That's what they're looking for. And then we struggle with a different kind of group tourists who are just ticking their check boxes, and they want to see the place, but at the same time, they want their modern conveniences and modern comforts.
Especially Singaporean travelers. We're all very savvy, and then we expect things like payment systems to be seamless, which I'm sure it may not be so at Khiva yet.
You know what? When we started 2 years ago, it was an issue because credit cards, although we all have our credit card terminals and several of them, sometimes they just don't work. But these days, tapping your card, tapping your iPhone or your Samsung phone or your, what do you call that? The iWatch, okay, whatever, that smartwatch.
Apple Watch, yes.
Apple Watch, yes. It works. And it's great that way. In fact, I can't even receive payments on my own mobile phone by just tapping somebody else's credit card.
Okay.
So we have leapfrogged. So from what it used to be, which was probably technology from 20 years ago, to technology today. And that's how fast the infrastructure is changing.
Wow.
Like our hotel was the first to get connected to the fiber optics network in Khiva.
Wonderful.
And that was so exciting for me because I was broadcasting from here with DSL dial-up connectivity. So every time when the phone rings, I get cut off. And then when fiber optics came by and they told us about it, it's like, oh, wow, that is great. So now a lot of the hotels are using the same system.
Well, I'm glad to be proven wrong. Things are moving fast.
They're
Khiva.
moving. There's still a lot of things to do, but we are moving. For example, end of this year, they said the high-speed train is going to be arriving in Khiva. So now it serves the Tashkent, Samarkand, Bukhara corridor, and by the end of this year will come to Khiva, which will cut traveling time as well.
All this really sounds like there's an opening for Singapore-based companies in terms of tourism tech, hospitality training, maybe even content partnerships. So what types of collaboration do you think would be most impactful? Okay.
2 years ago, was it a year and a half ago, I was there in Singapore and Tian Tian was talking to the Singapore Business Federation people who were encouraging local businesses to come and set up in Uzbekistan. And in 2023, our former president, Madam Halima Yaqub, came with Singapore Inc. Everyone from Singapore industry was here to check things out, to find partners and see where the growth opportunities are. And I believe there has been solar companies set up now. There were English private schools. There's already a Singapore hospitality management training academy in Uzbekistan. I forgot the name. I think it's TSMC or something like that. There's MDIS, which has a big campus, university campus here in Tashkent. So a lot of opportunities for Singaporean businesses. And I remember clearly when Tian Tian asked the SBF person about this, why Uzbekistan? And his answer was very simple. It is a country that has a similar setup as Singapore with stable government and a hardworking young workforce that can be tapped on. So that's one of the aspects that makes doing business here easier.
What about government support, Tim? Are local authorities in Uzbekistan working to support these secondary destinations like Khiva, or are efforts still focused on Tashkent and Samarkand?
Very much so. When we opened our business, so tourists will, of course, have to pay something like a tourist tax or a city tax. It used to be distributed throughout the country. And of course, as with anything that is pulled together, most of the funds will go to destinations with bigger number of visitors, right? But by the time we opened, it was announced that all these tourist taxes will stay where they are collected, which means the tourist tax we're collecting in Khiva will stay for the improvement and maintenance of all the tourist sites in Khiva, which is great because since then, the evening light up has become a lot better. There are a lot more festivities and a lot more support coming from the government as well in terms of activities for tourists, and not just that, but for businesses as well. This is the one place, Lynn, that I can tell you, I saw firsthand my tax money benefiting my business even before I started paying a single cent. Where my hotel is located, this neighborhood, which is an ancient old neighborhood, did not have a road, did not have sewage system. We got the approval to build a building here, a hotel here, provided that we build a road and build our own sewage system. But I think it was 2 months before that, the government just built it for us.
Oh.
And I was like, wow, that is great. And, the governor has come here. They've seen our operation. They've seen our expansion. We expanded earlier this year in April. And they're constantly in contact with us, constantly asking us, what can we do better? How can we help? And things like that. So I have been outspoken about the things that we can improve on as well.
It looks like there's definitely a national push for tourism growth as well. Final question, Tim. When you look at Khiva and Uzbekistan's evolving tourism map, what would success look like in the next few years?
Challenging, because we have seen how tourism can ruin beautiful places like the ones that we have been seeing in Europe today. Overcrowding, mass tourism, expensive housing, locals being pushed out of their own neighborhoods and their own cities. So that is something we need to keep track of. And I think there is so much to learn for all of us tourism operators to see how we can manage a sustainable tourism, which can be perhaps year-round and not strain the resources of small places like Khiva, so that we can maintain the charm of a small town and yet generate revenue from visiting tourists. So something we have to learn. One of the things I'm looking at is how Bhutan is doing low-impact, high-quality tourism, which I think it's very the way they manage their tourist inflow is admirable, and I think it's something that we can also try to do in Uzbekistan. So success means being able to make everyone, all the stakeholders happy, the neighborhoods happy, the tourists happy, the tour operators happy and profitable, and the hotels profitable all year long.
Tim, thank you so much. So great to hear how far you've taken your journey from Singapore's airwaves to one of the most atmospheric cities on the Silk Road. And as we've heard today, building tourism beyond Tashkent takes more than flights and hotel rooms. I think it also takes storytelling, partnerships, and vision, which you are clearly excelling in. Thank you so much for joining us. And really, I've got the wanderlust to come visit you now.
Come and visit me soon.
Yeah, I hope to get to welcome you back in the studio sometime.
Thank you very much for having me, Lynn.
That was Timothy Goh, founder of Hotel Bangkir Khiva, giving us an inside look at one of Central Asia's most culturally rich destinations.
To listen to more great interviews, download our podcasts at audio.sg or download the audio app. That's AWEDIO, audio at the App Store and Google Play.